Welcome to Succeeding at an Educator Job Fair. Before you arrive to the job fair, be sure to upload your resume to HireNLU, which is accessed through my.nl.edu and found in the Student Services tab. HireNLU is where you can store all of your job search documents, as well as get your resume included in the resume books that will be given to all employers before the Educator Job Fair. The next thing you need to do is research the employers in and out so that you know your audience. You can find your list of employers by going to the NLU Career Development website at the link there. You'll want to identify your top 10 employers or top 10 open jobs. The jobs for your employers are going to be found at my.nl.edu, again, inside HireNLU. You'll want to be sure to complete as many online applications as you can before the job fair so that you can tell the recruiter, hey, I've already applied online, and this is my resume, and then you can even answer questions for the recruiter there in person. Be sure to familiarize yourself with the mission, vision, and educational philosophies of each employer. When you get to the job fair, from 1 to 4 p.m., you are going to have the opportunity to meet with and network with employers. We recommend that you arrive as early as you can so that you can report to the student prep room. Once the job fair opens at 1 p.m., that first hour of the fair is typically the slowest. So use your punctuality to your advantage and take that time to meet with employers. You'll speak briefly with the recruiters with the goal of securing an interview. If you perform well during the job fair, you'll find that employers might give you a ticket to come back between 4:30 and 6 p.m. for an individual screening interview with that recruiter. But first things first, when you arrive to the fair, you'll want to look at the map that you're given when you register and familiarize yourself with the layout. Take a minute to review the items in your folder and the room map. When you're ready, head to the first employer. Introduce yourself with a smile and a firm handshake, and then you can introduce yourself using your 30-second pitch. We always recommend, when you go into the fair, to visit your lower priority employers first so that you can practice your pitch and tweak your approach. You can do this. Your mission is to give a fantastic first impression. The interaction with each employer will be brief, maybe 5 to 7 minutes. So you want to remember to dress professionally. That means that everyone should show up in a suit. It should be a skirt or pantsuit for women, and of course a pantsuit for men. You'll have a conservative color shirt underneath, blue or white, and then you'll want to wear professional looking shoes. So polished black shoes, polished high heels, and ladies, if you're wearing a suit skirt, you'll want to be sure to wear the proper pantyhose or tights. The intent is, of course, to provide an outstanding first impression with the hopes of landing an interview, either immediately after the fair between that 4:30 to 6 p.m. time slot, or post-job fair over the phone or in person with the employer. Remember, don't be discouraged if the conversation is short. That is normal at job fairs because recruiters are needing to maximize their time spent while at the job fair and meet with as many candidates as possible. They're very good at what they do, and they'll get the information they need from you quickly. But don't forget to ask the employer for a business card or at least an email address so that you can follow up properly after the job fair is over. So, how do you introduce yourself? We covered this in a previous webinar, But just in case you missed that one, you're going to want to practice your 30-second pitch before you get to the job fair. What you're doing in these 30 to 60 seconds is answering 4 questions in 2 to 3 sentences. Who are you? What are your areas of focus? What experiences or training do you have? What are your strengths, or why are you unique? You'll see an example here. I would walk up to a recruiter and I might say, "Hi, my name is Ryan Johnson and I'm a licensed professional educator with endorsements in elementary and special education. I am currently student teaching in a 5th grade classroom at Rivers Elementary, and I have found great success in adapting my lessons to the diverse set of learners in my class. I'm particularly interested in your school district because of the dedication it has to pushing students of all abilities to succeed." By framing your 30-second pitch in a way that identifies who you are, a professional educator that's licensed, right? What your areas of focus are, so elementary and special education, the experiences or training that you have, so you're going through a mentored student teaching experience in a 5th grade classroom, and what are your strengths? Well, by your pitch, you're saying that your strengths are in adapting your lessons to diverse learners. That's giving the information that the recruiters want quickly. What other questions should you expect to be answering? The most common questions that you will hear are here on this list, hopefully, right? We can't prepare for anything, but we can certainly prepare for everything. I take that back. I want to say it differently. We can't prepare for everything. We don't know exactly what the employer is going to ask, but we can prepare for anything by knowing what topics they're going to cover. So of course, they're going to ask you about you. This could come at the very beginning when they say, "Tell me about yourself." Or maybe it will come a couple questions next where, "What do you know about our school and community?" And of course, tell us about your involvement outside of the classroom. So have you coached? Have you volunteered with kids before? What do you do outside of the classroom that is still relevant to your teaching? You want to prepare answers to the questions that have to do with your teaching philosophy. You'll want to prepare for questions about your teaching methods. How do you differentiate? How do you partner with parents? How do you handle discipline? What is the role of assessment that you see in your teaching? And your lesson planning. Describe an effective lesson. How do you approach planning in your content area? What is your experience with the Common Core? These are all fair game at a job fair, so you'll want to be ready. You'll also want to expect to hear some behavioral-based questions. Many times, the questions are going to be framed in a situational way. For instance, "Tell me about a time when," or "Give an example of," or "Describe an experience." You're going to see 3 example questions here below, and we're also going to recommend that you use the SOAR method to tell employers how you've handled these situations in the past by giving very detailed information. The premise is that past behaviors are the greatest predictors of future behaviors. So the more specific you can be about how you've succeeded in these different situations, the better picture you're painting for the employer, and the better they will be able to visualize you in their school district. While the action in this SOAR method tends to tell the employer the skills that you have, it's the results that you share with them that answers the question, are you effective at what you do? Another question that you're likely to be asked is, do you have any questions for us? Always, always, always have at least 1 to 2 questions prepared to ask each employer. You'll want to avoid asking basic questions that can be found on the website by doing basic research. You'll want to use the conversation to develop intuitive questions, which will lead to a much more memorable conversation. This is where you can show off your active listening skills. Never ask about compensation, but you certainly can ask solid questions like, what qualities are you looking for in your new teachers? This is an example of how you can use their interview to also interview them. By using the questions that they have asked you, you're going to be able to then connect who you are as a teacher with what they're looking for. You can also use the conversation, as we said above, to develop intuitive questions. So as you're learning about the school or school district, you might say, well, you mentioned earlier that you have 40% ELL learners. And you'll then identify that you did some district research. So I recall on your district website that it's much lower than that as an average. So why do you think at your school it's so much higher? Are you facing any challenges meeting those needs? By asking this question, you're putting yourself in a situation to then be able to consult with them and say, oh, well, you're having some challenges meeting those needs. This is what I might be able to do if you were to hire me. Remember, network, network, network. You have identified your top 10 employers or top 10 jobs going into the job fair, but don't limit yourself to speaking with only those you've researched. Meet other employers, see what positions that they may have open in the future, and give yourself a chance to find an opportunity you weren't expecting. So instead of introducing yourself with exactly what you have to offer, you might introduce yourself saying, do you expect any opportunities for elementary educators in your school district this year? Or at an organization, a nonprofit organization that also hires teachers, you might say, do you expect any opportunities for licensed secondary teachers? Even if they say no, you can ask questions about the district, the organization, their student population, the teachers they hire, and of course, you can ask about the application process. Keep the conversation going. That's always up to you, and be sure to follow up afterward. You never know when something unexpected will come up. And what do I do after the fair? This is a huge differentiator between successful candidates post-fair. After each conversation with a recruiter, you should be taking a minute to write down the topics of conversation that you had on the back of the recruiter's business card. This will then be able to give you an idea of what to write when you're writing your thank you note or thank you email. Those emails should be sent within 24 hours of the job fair. Just like you hope to hear immediately back from the employer, you're going to be the most memorable when they hear immediately back from you. So after you've met with the recruiter, after you've sent your thank you note or thank you email, and maybe even after you had that first screening interview after the job fair, you'll want to be sure to follow the rules. They want you to be a good fit. They want you to be the new hire because their life then just got a lot easier. They don't have to recruit for that particular position anymore. So you want to pay attention to and follow the instructions closely in the entire application process. This allows the recruiter to know that you are serious about consideration. If you don't, the employer will think that either A, you don't care, or B, you can't follow instructions, so why would I hire you? Whatever the employer asks you to do, as long as it's ethical and legal, of course. Do it. Do you have any other questions about how you can prepare for the job fair and be successful? This is how you can contact our office. Find us online at nl.edu/career development. Email us at careerdevelopment@nl.edu, or give us a call to schedule an appointment or talk with a career readiness advisor at 312-261-3270. So again, don't forget to upload your resume to Hire NLU so that you can be included in the resume books. And we look forward to seeing you at the Educator Job Fair.